EPIRB, or Emergency Position Indicating Radio Beacon, is a maritime safety device designed to send a distress signal when activated. Once triggered, the beacon transmits a unique identification number and location data via satellite, enabling search and rescue teams in over 200 countries to locate and assist the vessel or individual quickly. Most modern EPIRBs include GPS, which significantly improves the accuracy and speed of locating a distressed vessel. There are various types of EPIRBs: manual EPIRBs, which are activated by a button; automatic EPIRBs, which are activated automatically when submerged in water and can also be triggered manually; hydrostatic release EPIRBs, typically used on automatic units. They release when submerged to a certain depth. Most modern EPIRBs are dual-mode devices that can be activated manually or automatically depending on the circumstances. Here's a brief overview of how an EPIRB works. So when the vessel is in trouble and the EPIRB is activated, an emergency signal containing the vessel's details and GPS position is transmitted. A satellite receives the emergency signal and relays it to a local user terminal, which receives the signal and passes it on to the Mission Control Center. The Mission Control Center passes the signal to the Rescue Coordination Center, which passes the signal to the search and rescue units, which proceeds to the vessel's location. There are various types of EPIRBs: a manual EPIRB, which is activated by a button; an automatic EPIRB, which is activated automatically when submerged in water and can also be triggered manually; hydrostatic release EPIRBs, typically used on automatic units. They release when submerged to a certain depth. Most modern EPIRBs are dual-mode devices that can be activated manually or automatically depending on the circumstances. What are the parts of an EPIRB? An EPIRB consists of key components including an antenna, a manual or automatic activation switch, and a battery. Many standard EPIRBs do not have a protective housing against splash water or rain and typically only feature a mounting bracket. For this reason, they should not be mounted externally, as accidental activation could occur. Float-free EPIRBs, designed for harsher conditions, are mounted in a special bracket with a hydrostatic release and water-activated switch. These units can be safely mounted on deck and will automatically deploy if the vessel sinks. Additionally, they include a bright light to make the emergency scene visible from a distance at night. EPIRBs are powered by a long-life, non-rechargeable lithium battery capable of transmitting for at least 48 hours in temperatures as low as -20 degrees centigrade. Many modern units also feature a test button to check functionality and GPS for more precise location tracking. How does an EPIRB work? EPIRBs operate in two primary modes. Category 1. These units can be activated either manually or automatically upon contact with water. They are often mounted in a float-free bracket that allows automatic deployment when submerged. Category 2. These units can only be activated manually by pressing a button. They do not automatically deploy in the water and are typically housed in a simple mounting bracket that does not protect the unit from water exposure. Therefore, Category 2 EPIRBs should not be mounted outside, as they are not waterproof without a float-free bracket. Once activated, the EPIRB transmits a 5-watt distress signal every 50 seconds for at least 48 hours. This signal contains critical information such as the vessel or person's details, the port of origin, and additional rescue-related information. When activated, a modern EPIRB sends two types of signals: 4.6 MHz satellite signal. So this digital signal includes the vessel's unique identification and, if GPS equipped, its coordinates. The signal is used to alert search and rescue organizations and to define the general search area. 121.5 MHz homing signal, a low-power analog signal that helps search and rescue vessels, aircraft or helicopters locate the exact position of the distressed vessel. Older EPIRBs rely solely on the 121.5 MHz homing frequency, which has a limited range but is still useful for nearby rescue teams. When the 406 MHz signal is activated, the COSPAS SARSAT system detects it and relays the information to ground stations called local user terminals, or LUTs. These stations forward the data to the nearest Maritime Rescue Coordination Center, or MRCC, which contacts the emergency contact provided by the owner for the verification. Upon confirming the emergency, the MRCC coordinates with the appropriate search and rescue authorities to deploy rescue assets such as air or sea rescue crafts. An EPIRB must display several key pieces of information to ensure effective rescue in case of an emergency. Firstly, vessel information, which includes the vessel's name, call sign, maritime mobile service identity number, identifier, and then there's technical details such as the serial number, which is the unique identifier for the EPIRB, the battery expiry date, which indicates when the EPIRB battery will no longer be effective, and an expiry date of the water pressure release for EPIRBs with a float-free bracket. EPIRBs are part of the global maritime distress and safety system and require the use of an MMSI code. This unique identifier is essential for identifying the vessel. For US-based EPIRBs, it is essential to register the beacon on the Compass SARSAT website. The registration should include all necessary details about the vessel and the registered person, ensuring that rescue teams have the most accurate and up-to-date information available. The beacon ID helps ensure that search and rescue authorities can retrieve essential information about the vessel, its owners, and emergency contacts during an emergency. To further enhance this process, vessel owners can voluntarily register the EPIRB through the Compass SARSAT website, ensuring that all relevant data is readily available in case of distress. Are you legally required to have an EPIRB on board? The use of EPIRBs varies by country. In some countries, an EPIRB is recommended as additional safety equipment for recreational craft, but is not legally required. In other countries, such as Italy, carrying an EPIRB has been mandatory since 2000 for certain vessels. It's important to check the local regulations for the country where you plan to operate your boat, as requirements can differ. Which license is required for an EPIRB? To use an EPIRB on board your vessel, registration is required after the unit is programmed. In most countries, it is mandatory to have a boat radio license on board to avoid fines or issues during an inspection by local authorities. You can easily obtain an electronic MMSI radio license for your boat by completing a form online. No formal course is required. Just provide information about yourself and your boat. The license is typically issued for up to 10 years, but you can apply for an annual renewal. Fees may apply depending on the country. Additionally, some countries have shore-based maintenance regulations that require regular checks. For example, in Italy, EPIRBs must undergo maintenance every 4 years. This includes battery replacement, checking waterproofness and signal strength in a controlled environment to avoid false alarms, hydrostatic release replacement every 2 years for automatic models, an annual test if used on a professional vessel. As per the International Maritime Organization Resolution MSC 1040, EPIRBs must undergo an annual operational audit, which is mandatory for some commercial vessels. However, recreational craft are generally not required to comply with this. To ensure the reliable operation of your EPIRB, regular maintenance is essential, although it may not be mandatory in every country. Many EPIRB units come with a self-test function, allowing you to check that the unit is working properly before embarking on a long sea voyage. When selecting an EPIRB, consider choosing a reputable brand, especially if you are planning on blue water sailing, and ensure access to worldwide maintenance and service points. So the test procedure: if you remove the EPIRB from its bracket for testing, ensure that no false alarms are triggered. Always refer to the operating instructions for proper testing procedures. Device lifespan: the estimated lifespan of an EPIRB and its lithium battery is around 10 years or less. These batteries are non-rechargeable and must be replaced. While the battery typically lasts for the device's full lifespan, regular maintenance should be conducted during this period. Battery replacement: most EPIRBs require the battery to be replaced every 5 years, even if the expiry date has not yet passed. Battery replacement cannot be done by the user. It must be carried out by a professional. Hydrostatic release: for automatic EPIRBs, the hydrostatic release mechanism should be replaced every 2 years to ensure proper function. Maintenance regulations: under the 1974 Safety of Life at Sea Treaty, which mandates the maintenance of EPIRBs, some countries have specific maintenance requirements. For example, in Italy, EPIRBs must be replaced every 4 years to meet local guidelines and ensure the use of the most advanced and reliable equipment. In summary, while regular maintenance might not be a legal requirement in all countries, following manufacturer specifications and international standards like SOLAS will help keep your EPIRB in optimal condition and ensure your safety at sea. Programming and registering your EPIRB. EPIRBs must be programmed and registered with the relevant regulatory authority in your country. Failure to comply with EPIRB registration requirements may result in fines. All 406 MHz EPIRBs need to be programmed with a unique country-specific identification number, typically related to the country whose flag the vessel is flying. After purchasing an EPIRB, it must be programmed with a Maritime Mobile Service identity, a globally unique number. When first programmed, the marine beacon is assigned an ID code which is linked to both the EPIRB and the vessel. If you need to update the settings or reprogram your EPIRB, this can typically be done through the retailer where the EPIRB was purchased or by the manufacturer's national importer. It is essential that all identification and registration parameters are correctly configured to ensure the device functions properly in an emergency. What to do in case of an EPIRB false alarm? An accidental 406 MHz alarm can cause costly disruptions to search and rescue services and in the worst case may endanger lives. Intentional misuse of the beacon can result in penalties and fines. So if your EPIRB is accidentally activated, cancel the alarm. The emergency signal does not automatically dispatch rescue vehicles. Contact the nearest coast station, Coast Earth Station or Rescue Coordination Center to cancel the distress alert. Verify the situation. If the EPIRB is linked to the vessel's MMSI or international call sign, the rescue need can be quickly verified through VHF contact or by calling the mobile phone registered during the programming process. Contact the Rescue Coordination Center or the MRCC. Immediately call the RCC or MRCC to report the accidental activation and explain the cause of the false alarm. Inform the nearest port authority. Notify the nearest port authority about the false alarm and the reason for the activation. The distress signal starts 90 seconds after activation, allowing time to correct the error. If you're unsure, it's better to contact the Harbour Master's office as soon as possible. What's the difference between EPIRB and SART? An EPIRB and a SART or Search and Rescue Radar Transponder are both essential maritime safety devices used in distress situations. This device transmits a distress signal to international search and rescue coordinators via satellite. When activated, an EPIRB communicates the vessel's location and distress status, allowing the search and rescue teams to locate and assist you. EPIRBs are designed to work in all conditions, providing direct communication with global rescue services. SART, this is a portable marine navigation device that works by responding to radar signals from nearby vessels or aircraft. In the event of a man overboard situation or shipwreck, the SART transmits a unique signal that can be detected by vessels or aircraft with active radar. The SART's signal appears as distinctive echoes on radar screens. A typical SART has a detection range of 20 to 30 miles with radar, but it requires nearby radar-equipped vessels or aircraft to function. Additionally, an AIS SART provides a more localized distress signal. It has a transmitting power of 1 watt and a range of approximately 5 miles, allowing nearby vessels with AIS to pinpoint the location of the distress signal. The key differences: EPIRBs communicate directly with international search and rescue services via satellite, ensuring a broader reach and coordination for rescue. SARTs rely on nearby vessels or aircraft with active radar or AIS to detect and respond to the distress signal, offering more localized support. In summary, EPIRBs are ideal for notifying global rescue authorities, while SART works by aiding the rescue process locally, primarily by enabling nearby vessels or aircraft to detect your distress signal. What's the difference between an EPIRB and a PLB? A personal locator beacon, or PLB, is a valuable piece of safety equipment known for its small, compact size. PLBs are highly portable and perfect for individuals, whether for skippers, those on charters, during crossings, or for activities like hiking and other outdoor activities. Unlike EPIRBs, there are no special legal obligations for PLBs, though they must be personally registered. So the key differences are activation. EPIRBs often automatically activated when in water or manually, depending on the type. PLBs require manual activation. It does not automatically activate like some EPIRBs. Transmission. Both EPIRBs and PLBs transmit distress signals on 406 MHz and 121.5 MHz for homing. The 406 MHz signal is used for satellite detection, while the 121.5 MHz provides a homing signal for rescuers to pinpoint the location. Registration. Both EPIRBs and PLBs need to be registered, but the registration is generally for PLBs at the personal level, while EPIRBs typically involve more formal requirements based on maritime regulations. In summary, while both devices serve a similar purpose of distress signaling, the EPIRB is primarily designed for maritime use, while the PLB is more versatile for personal use in a variety of situations. What's the cost of a rescue? The cost of a rescue operation initiated by an EPIRB distress signal depends on the location, the resources involved, and the policies of the country or organization conducting the rescue. So here's how it works. International maritime practices. There are no direct charges to individuals. Most countries and organizations following international agreements such as the International Convention on Maritime Search and Rescue do not charge individuals for maritime rescue operations. The rationale is to encourage sailors and mariners to use distress signals without fear of financial repercussions, as delaying rescue requests could cost lives. So who bears the costs? Government agencies. Maritime rescues are often coordinated and funded by national coast guards, naval forces, or other government entities responsible for search and rescue. For example, in the United States, the US Coast Guard covers the costs of maritime rescues. In the United Kingdom, the Maritime and Coast Guard Agency funds search and rescue operations. International coordination. So when rescues involve international waters or multiple countries, costs may be shared among the countries or organizations involved, as coordinated through entities like international maritime organizations. Private resources. If private vessels or helicopters are used in the rescue, the costs might be borne by the owner of the resource, though this varies by region. Exceptions and special cases. Negligence or misuse. Some countries may seek reimbursement if the distress was caused by reckless behavior, negligence, or the misuse of an EPIRB. For example, false alarms or non-emergency activations may lead to fines or penalties. Rescues resulting from avoidable risks, for example, ignoring weather advisories, might lead to cost recovery in rare cases. Private search and rescue organizations. In regions where private organizations conduct rescues, for example mountain rescue or private maritime services, costs may be billed to the individual or their insurance. The role of insurance. Many mariners carry specialized insurance policies such as travel or maritime insurance, which can cover costs related to emergencies including salvage operations, medical evacuation, and loss of equipment. Encouragement of distress signal use. The global search and rescue policy prioritizes saving lives over cost considerations. Mariners are encouraged to activate EPIRBs when in genuine distress to ensure timely assistance. In conclusion, in most cases, sailors rescued after activating an EPIRB do not have to pay for the rescue, provided the activation was justified and in good faith. The costs are typically absorbed by government agencies or covered by international search and rescue agreements.